Why do we overeat? In fact, I have a better question. Why do we do anything in excess? Why are we addicted to certain things like coffee? Why do we use certain things as a crutch when we're struggling in our lives? Well, I'm going to explore 3 reasons why we get addicted to certain habits and behaviours, such as eating, and how we can actually move through it and come out to the other side. Because what I've realised is we often approach our well-being in a very individual way. So if someone's struggling to lose weight, we look at the diet, but do we look at the emotions? Do we look at the root cause underneath unhealthy eating habits? No. If someone has an addiction to alcohol, do we just try and take them off the alcohol? But do we go underneath and see what may be going on under the surface? These are all the things I really love to explore. My name's Antonia and I work in emotional healing to create lovely ripples of transformation through your life. And I love working with people who are on their spiritual awakening and emotional healing journey. And I post videos every week. So if you want to join in, subscribe, stay in touch. But otherwise, let's get into it. So we're going to use overeating as an example because it's one so many of us can relate to, myself included. So the first reason why we tend to overeat is because of safety, which sounds a little bit strange, but food is a comfort blanket. It is the thing that we were soothed with when we were babies, our mother's milk. And after our mother's milk, whenever we used to cry or we were stressed, we would get given food often. Oh, you have a toothache, you go to see the dentist, here, have a lollipop. Or you're, crying, you've lost your favourite toy when you've been out for the day, here, have an ice cream. Food has always been a comforter and a soother, and no wonder it has magical soothing properties when it's used in the right way. But a deeper reason why we may want to carry extra weight, we're going a little bit to the crux here, is to do with safety and survival. Weight is a barrier, a physical barrier to the rest of the world. It is almost like a suit that we put on in order to protect ourselves from things that might have happened in the past, but the trauma is still cycling through our nervous system, because that's what happens. Trauma stays stuck in our bodies and our cells until we can safely release it, which is something that I do in my sessions, because trauma is a massive deregulator in your life. It can have huge consequences unless we address it and gently, compassionately release it from the body. And you know what? Somatic practitioners are right on the money with this one. They know that the physical body holds all the trauma, and that's why we need to release it. So it's safety and it's survival and it's to overcome fear. And which leads me into the second point. We often overeat in order to numb our feelings. And we do many things to numb our feelings. It's not just about eating. We can do all kinds of things. I think you know the common ones, scrolling through Netflix or scrolling through Instagram, binge watching Netflix. It could be obsessively going to the gym. It could be shopping. It could be gossiping. It could be anything that helps us not feel. And the problem is we're often not conscious that we're in these habits and behaviours, because feeling the thing that we don't want to feel is often so deeply uncomfortable and scary that we will do anything to avoid it. And I'm an absolute master at this, because I have 5s and 8s in my soul contract, which are the numbers that do not want to feel. And I'll add a 3 in there as well. If you don't know the energies in your soul contract, I'm going to put the link below, because it can be very illuminating as to why you face certain challenges in your life and why you have certain struggles and how to overcome them. But that's beside the point. So we numb our feelings because we do not want to go into that darkness, into that depth, into that problem solving. It sometimes feels easier to be an ostrich and bury our heads in the sand, and our sandbox can be anything we choose it to be, and often it can be that sweet treat. And something I learned when I studied kinesiology is when we are reaching for sweet foods, it's because we are lacking joy in our life. We are lacking the sweetness of life. So if you are someone who needs to reach for a chocolate bar during the day, is there some joy missing from your life? You know, if it's something that's really happening every day, is there a part of your life that does feel joyless and flat and empty? And maybe we can start looking at how to fill that back up with something that inspires you and makes you feel good. Okay, the third reason is a really, really interesting one, and it's coming from a little bit more of a spiritual angle. I think a lot of us overeat or gain weight in order to ground, especially people who are on their spiritual journey, because often people who are spiritually awakening can have had pretty tough lives. So there is trauma there. So the weight is there for to feel safe, to ground the trauma in some way, and also to avoid feeling stuff that's gone on in the past. But besides that, weight is grounding. It's very, very grounding for very ethereal souls. What I mean by that is people who feel like sometimes they don't quite fit in here, that earthly life feels pretty challenging, that they can't quite find their path, they don't quite resonate, and they long for home and would sometimes rather be somewhere else. This is a very, very common energy with the 5s and the 10 ones in the soul contract. So if you have these energies, you may need a little bit more grounding, because these energies are very sort of up here, big thinkers, especially the 5s, big thinkers. They don't really want to put their feet down on earth. They would rather sort of avoid that. And weight kind of is a way to ground us, to make us heavier in order to anchor us into earthly life. But what if we could ground in other ways? What if we could ground through really nourishing practices like being out in nature, or grounded yoga sessions, or eating very rooted vegetables and food that are really grown from the earth, or meditation practice? So it's a really complex, dynamic thing, weight, because how we perceive our value and our worth is directly linked to our relationship with food. And so if we nourish ourselves with wonderful food, we often have a very healthy relationship with ourselves. Now, I can sometimes really struggle to eat really, really well. I think a lot of us can, but that is a reflection of my relationship with myself. I don't beat myself up for it, and neither should you, because we're all on a learning curve and a learning journey. I just felt really inspired to share this in the hope that maybe someone might feel a little bit of understanding around themselves, because we've all been in those situations where we're reaching for things that we know we shouldn't we shouldn't have, but there's nothing wrong with that. We're all just figuring it out as we go along. And I do remember when I was very unhappy, I was living in Paris, living the dream. I was a cyclone Segway tour guide when I was 21, and I'd just been on a ski season with loads of friends, and I moved to Paris and I loved it, but I was so lonely. And I lived above the supermarket, and I ate and I ate and I ate because I was so tired, I was so unhappy, and I just didn't know what to do with that. And so I ate, because I didn't have the tools that I have now to go into the emotions and understand what's going on under the surface. And hint, it's normally fear. Fear is normally the thing that underpins everything. Okay, I've waffled on enough. This was my morning inspiration, and I hope it's helpful. Stay in touch if you want to hear more videos about soul contracts and emotional healing. Otherwise, I wish you a really beautiful rest of your day.